Greetings and salutations, all you absolutely stunning individuals. It's another epi of Liga Unlock. My name is Eric here for final day of group stage action from First Stand. We don't know who was going to be eliminated coming into the day, and because of a combination of the level up from K Corp and the level down from Top Esports, actually had spicy implications on the final day, and it started with, can CFO prove that they are in fact the second best team at this event? And the answer matching up against Top Esports was kind of, sort of, absolutely a resounding yes on that front. And that is despite the first game in this set starting with a bad level 1 from our favorite rookie phenom, Hong Q, getting a little too hypey and he gets caught out level 1. But basically that was the main highlight for Top Esports, at least in this first game, which is wild because it's even Kanavi on the Nidalee that grabs that first blood. So you would think that's an easy fast track to snowball this game out of control for a player like Kanavi, but it just wasn't the case because CFO kind of danced circles around the map over TES. I think they were net positive 1,000 when it came to turret plating. That's how far ahead they were, and just got a few picks around the map to completely snowball this one out of control pretty darn quickly. Rest on the Jace was an absolute menace, and Kai Wing on the Alistair was exactly why they were dancing around the map. But it's so rare to see, I don't even want to call this a minor region anymore. It's so rare to see an LPL team get completely gapped macro-wise and just movements around the map by a team not from the LCK or from the LPL themselves. But yes, this Asia Pacific League, man, the Flying Oysters, just business as usual in that first game, as usual for this tournament at the very least. And this is, lose this game, Top Esports legitimately in danger of being the first team eliminated from the event, which is an absolutely insane words to even utter at the start of this tournament. But that's just case in point where we are on this one. It's the same theme for CFO, win or lose. The top lane gets subbed out. Driver comes in for that second game, and he's doing his best Baus cosplay on this one. He comes in for the Scion, obviously one of the picks he's famous for, and again, the very early game, there's some suspect movements or plays out of CFO. Driver gets dove, and then there's a failed dive on Jackie Love that almost nets a double kill over to him. But it really felt like desperation. That's right, I'm coining that one in game 2. Cream, in both the first game and the second game, was the main guy trying to make some engages, trying to make plays happen, and bless their hearts, Top Esports were trying to do stuff, especially in this second game. It actually felt like CFO was the team on the defensive, but they were counterpunching to a whole nother level. They were ready for everything the Top Esports was ready to throw at them, even if this proxy Scion doesn't quite work out to Baus levels, as he handed over the feats of warfare over to Top Esports on that play. But it didn't really matter because CFO were just so in control, calm, cool, and collected, where again, Top Esports, they were embracing the LPL chaos in the worst ways possible. And what I mean by that is just send it, just force it, just run it into the Azir, walk into the shuffle. It still felt like disrespect out of, you're not flashing an Azir ulti out of Jackie Love. He tries to use the Corki Valkyrie. We know how that ability interacts with the Sharima shuffle, and it results in him dying. You could maybe say the game was already over at this point. You've got Kanavi dive in the backline, 1v5 solo. Great, you found Doggo, but there's absolutely zero follow-up. The Poppy ulti doesn't come until the end of the fight. Nobody seemed to be on the same page for Top Esports, and their struggles absolutely continue, where on the other side of things, CFO has been, again, the second best team in the event, one of the most biggest surprise at this event, and Driver's having a good time. He's doing his dances after every game, and I think that's My theory is that's the main reason why he always gets subbed in, is just so they can have a dance on that final game. It's usually Rest who starts the first game and Driver who comes in for game 2. Again, more often than not, regardless of the outcome, win or lose, you know a substitution is coming in. But CFO, my God, we got to start putting this Asian Pacific League, I mean, it's leaps and bounds ahead of the LTA South, obviously, but we're putting them ahead of the LTA North at this point. But obviously, massive implications after this series because Top Esports on the chopping block. All that needs to happen for them to be eliminated is Team Liquid upsetting Hanwha Life. Oh, well, that's kind of a big if. But what this first series did do was Carmine Corp's through. They're not eliminated. We almost have this 1-3 tiebreaker scenario, which was going to be coming in, but Carmine Corp absolutely leveled it up over the last couple of days, so happy to see them advancing through. But Team Liquid lives on the line against Hanwha Life, and we were wondering, is there going to be a bit of trolling perhaps going on for Hanwha? Maybe they don't want to avoid Top Esports, or maybe they do want to avoid Top Esports and let them get eliminated. We get a Kale top sighting in the first game, and we get Peanut having some fun gaming experience as he gets first blooded. It goes right over to Jan. It's sort of a lane swap, but look at these whiffs from Hanwha Life. This looks like trolling. Delight flashes after his skewer channel has ran out. Peanut flashes into nothing. They're diving, forcing this. It almost looks desperate. Out of Hanwha Life. This time it is actually APA piloting the Ziggs. They don't give it to Jan at this point, and that Kalista was working wonders early, even though Zeus just got a kill and it was starting to be terrifying on the Kale. This early game looks good for Team Liquid. They're showing more signs of life than we've seen over the last couple of series from them at this event as they eventually chase down Viper as well. There's that flash satchel that we know that APA is capable of on the Ziggs, but the problem for Team Liquid, it felt like they were being the proactive team. They were the one making all these decisions, and they're behind in gold. That's just what happens when you're up against a top-tier team in the LCK, and the even bigger issue than that is a lot of that money was going on the Kale. And as soon as Zeus gets a pair of shutdowns, he single-handedly had a 3K plus gold lead opposite of Impact. Obviously, this last pick Kale going against the Cassante basically got a free lane, even with some of the swaps going around. But this was a ticking time bomb. You knew it would be the case as soon as the Kale starts getting fed. Even though there were some good fights out of Team Liquid, all of a sudden, it's not just the Kale. Finally, we get, I think there were 3 cash-ins here for Viper, who had just been waiting to get some big damage, and we know how quickly things are going to get out of control. Kind of a desperate Baron attempt for Team Liquid at this point, and yeah, that Zeus. Oh, the Zeus kill's a little bit scary. At one point, I think he was 3 levels ahead of Cassante, and so was Zeka over that Zig. So 6 levels ahead combined for those solo lanes. And yeah, it's going to be a hard-pressed way to win. Look at how tanky Zeka is at this point. He can just walk under the turret. He doesn't care that Jan's at 80% life. He's going to get the kill and walk away. Absolutely no problem. So despite the solid early game, it's Hanwha Life picking up that first W of the series with, again, a ticking time bomb that was that Kale. And if you thought going up 1-0 was going to slow their roll on what spicy picks came through, you would be sorely disappointed, because obviously they're limit testing what's going to work in semifinals. We get the trio AD carry comp. This ain't 2024 where people were pulling these out. Tristana mid for Zeka, the Quinn in the top lane. This was, again, a last counter pick to the Renekton. Poor Big Daddy Impact was just getting completely focused in draft. Not that he was the issue, but it was more, Zeus being absolutely terrifying. But we did finally get a solid APA showing. He gets a 4-1 start on one of his many fallback pocket picks in the Cassiopeia, matching up opposite of Zeka. He was 2 levels ahead early in this one, and Team Liquid, again, a pretty decent early game, even though Jan's going to get caught out here, and then eventually there's an Otacon that goes away, which, is one way to get them back in here, and this is the ruinous one. Again, I stand by it being more broken than the voracious one. Just look at the XP bars boost up for Team Liquid, and then we have this trade of objectives. Homo Life's on the Baron because Umpty is dead, and you see APA solo kills the dragon for Mountain Soul underneath, and then Team Liquid go force into this fight. Damn, Impact's still kind of tanky, even though he's been shut down a little bit. It's a bit messy, but just remember that when all this was said and done, it was the Mountain Soul that went over to Team Liquid. So even though maybe the fight looks a little bit shaky and it gets very extended, oh, the juke by Zeus on that Cassiopeia ulti feels bad, but Quinn is just so fast in that ulti form. APA not able to do much in the 1v4, but that's okay because again, they got the Mountain Soul and they have Core JJ with the ultimate flank because Team Liquid was behind in gold here. You know, they were kind of in control in that first game and let it slip away, but they were behind big time after this Baron, but this absolutely insane flank that nets them 4 kills before Zeus is even able to show up to the fight. And then the final fight around Elder, they're keeping track of Zeus. No flank from the Quinn, even though there's a pink ward in that little bush, and he should know that Core JJ's there. He doesn't know that Yon is there. He walks in and gets popped by the lethality Varus. Then we get a big 2-man ulti out of APA, who had himself his best game of the tournament so far. Elder goes over to TL and they're able to close it out there, and Top Esports starts sweating. Just one little dribble of sweat as we go to a third and decisive game, only the second game that Hanwha has dropped on the entire tournament. And as you head into that final one, it's probably the least spicy draft that we get out of Hanwha Life, but there is a new ticking time bomb. This time it is the Kassadin in the mid lane for Zeka, but early on it shouldn't be an issue. That's when he's at his weakest, and you combine Core JJ spoon feeding the little first blood to APA's Victor, and maybe you're feeling okay about things. The problem is, yet again, for the third straight game, Zeus. And this time he's on, you know, the meta pick in Ambessa, even though he gets yoinked by the True Shot Barrage out of Yan on the Ezreal. It was, again, a huge lead individually that Zeus was accumulating. Impact had a rough series on the day, and listen, Zeus is the best top laner in the world in some of the best form that we've seen him out of, so understandable that he would struggle, but it looks like, oh, Team Liquid, you can see the writing on the wall. They're getting corralled in, and Zeka eventually grabs one there and just is going to be on cleanup duty as Peanut shovels them all into the wall. It's only APA left, and unfortunately, for the first time in this series, we've seen Hanwha Life do this to so many teams throughout the year. It's a clean 5-for-0 ace, and then Zeus has 2 levels on Impact. He's solo killing him under turret. He's got no chance in the side lane. Peanut's just skirting in, and that's a level 16 Kassadin who's doing a whole lot of damage. Even though he's at 30% life, my man is still rift walking forward because he's got it stacked. He's getting all these kills. Viper is online on the Sivir, dealing insane amounts of damage. This was the least close game of the series, and it seems like it's when Hanwha Life decided that they wanted to get out of here. Why should they be scared of a squad like Top Esports? You know, you could say, oh, let's think ahead. This is like the LCK Cup where it was like, oh, maybe we should throw a series, then we don't have to face T1. No, a team as good as Hanwha Life does not need to be thinking that way because they can beat any team on the planet. So yeah, they're not sweating matching up against Top Esports, especially in the form that they are currently in. Unfortunately, what this all meant was the end of the run. Yet another near airport journey for the Team Liquid lads. And I know people are making, talking about Spawn not being there, having to head back home. But both Team Liquid and him releasing statements about it. They knew this was an inevitability. He said he wasn't going to be able to coach full-time from North America, had to spend some time with family and at home. Absolutely understandable. The bigger issue is, how does Team Liquid look so different and lost without Spawn? I will say this series was actually better than the first one that they had against Carmine Corp, but it's a tough end to start in the way that they did, where you feel good against KC and then proceed to drop 3 series in a row. 2 of those were them absolutely getting smacked. They show a bit of life against Hanwha. You can say what percentage of it is Hanwha kind of just bored trying things out. I feel like that's a high percentage of it. But either way, Team Liquid, the first squad going home. It feels a little bad because you could argue they're in better form than top esports right now, but they did lose that head-to-head, so deserve it so, which means we bump on to those semifinals. We'll do a full recap of what we learned about Team Liquid post-tourney event, but we got CFO versus KC, Hanwha versus top esports. I can't imagine top esports having a level up enough to be competitive in this series. I'll give them a game because Hanwha Life might cook something up, but I don't see any of these other 3 teams taking 3 games out of 5 against this Hanwha Life roster. Apart from a massive choke job, I just can't see it happening. The CFO versus KC matchup is much more closely contested. CFO should be the favorites. They did, dismantle KC earlier in the tournament, but Carmine Corp has looked much better since then. But CFO has also, beaten everybody else except for Hanwha Life in that matchup. So I'm super excited for this one. It's going to be a whole lot closer. As I mentioned, I feel like I'm giving the edge to K-Corp just because I feel like their confidence is really now at an all-time high after, I know going 1-3, you shouldn't be feeling that good, but there's an angle where KC can get to finals and probably get smashed by Hanwha Life. I wouldn't be surprised either way, though, with that first semifinal CFO versus KC. I would absolutely be shocked if Top Esports even takes this to a Game 5. But there's no question, draft of the tournament, most fun picks go to Hanwha Life. We'll see if they continue that in semifinal action. And post-weekend, we'll be back to break down all the magic and insanity that will be from these semifinals and finals at First Stand. But that is it today for League Unlocked. My name is Eric. Thank you to all you beautiful people for hanging out as always and the support. And we will catch you on that flippity flip.